Hi, this is just a quick video to throw some clarity on the VISOR PDF I showed you and show you how to get a character with a control rig running straight out of Maya. So I'll start with the character and control rig and then I'll show you a couple of other things. So we'll go Window General Editors, go to the VISOR. Now this is a library of examples. You can actually add your own examples to this. You can add your own clips to this. So there's paint effects, ocean, fluid, hair, toon examples, cloth examples, etc. What we're looking for today is a human IK character. So if you go across to human IK examples, and I'm just going to use this gremlin character here. So click the icon and middle mouse drag into the viewport. So I'm just going to close the visor and zoom out and go 5 for shaded and 6 for textured. So there's the gremlin character. You actually rotate the joints to animate and key him. We're going to add a control rig with IK and FK to make this a lot easier. So what you want to do is select the root joint. You can create your own skeletons and automatically create a human IK control rig, and there's a lot of advantages to doing that. One of them is you can actually import motion capture clips and source them straight onto your character. So you could download a clip of a kung fu fight, and as long as your joint structure is human IK compatible, then you can then add a control rig to it. Human IK compatible specifically means that the joint labeling is accurate. So when you have a look at this skeleton, open your outliner and have a look how the joints are laid out and how they're named and where they sit. This particular one would have been created straight in human IK. So select that root joint, go to your animation menu set, go across the skeleton and human IK. And this is like a plugin that runs in Maya and comes with the Maya package. Up the top of the human IK window, you'll see this little blue icon and there's a create button in there. So go create control rig. So now I've got this control rig created, I can use these handles to animate the character. So I'm just going to go 6 for textured so I can actually see what's happening. So that's a FK shoulder control. This wrist one, this is an IK control. So I can just grab it and move it around. And I can set keyframes directly on the control. So I've set a keyframe at 1 and I'm going to set one here at 10. Move the control over there and key that. So if I just play it back, I've got a arm movement. And remember, when you're keying these characters, you've got to set keyframes on anything that you change. So any control that you change, you need to set a keyframe on. So I just wanted to talk quickly about animating characters. The really basic workflow is blocking poses. So right now I've got 24 frames at the bottom of my in my range. I'm going to go to 100. So I've just created some frames. So at frame 1, that's where he is. And I'm going to go to, say, frame 50. So I started at frame 1, and at frame 50 I created this this pose here. So now that I have my two poses, I'll go in and start creating the intermediary poses between the original blocking poses. And this is basically the way animation works. This is a bad example because frame 50 is way too slow. But yeah, if you use the blocking technique, and just think about your frame rate. So we're all working at 24 frames a second. So think about how long you want your character to get from one pose to another. So I'm just going to go back over here to the control rig. If you have trouble selecting your controls, you can use this panel in the human IK attributes here to actually single out a section or a control. So say I want to move the foot, just click on the foot and in the viewport, the foot selected. Just for your information, this here is a pole vector. This is actually created by using a constraint that's aimed at the IK handle. So that'd be a locator, which is constraining the IK handle. For animation use, all you need to know is it will roll a knee or an elbow. So just a couple of things I'm going to touch on for this with human IK. Say you've created your own character, and we haven't really touched on rigging quite enough for you guys to go out and rig a skeleton today. So you have other options, and one of those other options is this. So say you've got your own character, go skeleton, human IK, go create skeleton, and human IK will create a skeleton for you. You can then use the scale tools and placement to scale down the skeleton to match your character and the amount of joints you need in the neck, in the shoulders, in the spine, until you get the skeleton that you need for your character. Once you've created it, you can then go and bind skin smooth bind to your character, and you can add a control rig in human IK. And finally, I just want to show you one more thing in human IK. So I've just grabbed this human IK rigged character out of the visor, and I've just added a couple of keyframes to the control rig. So I'm just going to play it, and he jumps, and that's it. You've rigged a character, bound it to the skeleton, added a human IK control rig, and you've animated it. Now you realize you need to actually go in and edit the keyframes on the joints. Those keyframes that I've placed aren't on the joints, they're on the control rig, but you can actually bake them down to the joints and bake the keyframes from the control rig into the joints. So I've just selected the waist controller, and I'm just going to hit up a few times till I've got the whole control rig selected. And then again from the human IK menu, I'm going to go bake to skeleton. And I'll go through your animation, and you'll see all these new keyframes on your timeline. I'm just going to hide my mesh, hide my polygons, and if you select these joints one at a time, you'll see there's keyframes actually on the joints now. So that's a really handy tool, especially if you have intentions for your character to go out to a game engine, for instance. Now, some of you might be asking yourself, well, what's so good about human IK? There's 4 characters in the visor. I'm not going to use those same 4 characters that everybody else is using. What's powerful about human IK is that you can assign a human IK skeleton to any character, to your character. You can retarget that skeleton, which means you could get some motion capture data off a free library, and you could retarget that to your human IK rig. You can tell any skeleton to become a human IK skeleton.